Hey guys, welcome to Hogwarts. It's my first time. I know I'm like 46 years old, but hey, better late than never. So I'm not really sure what house I'm in, so I'm gonna take the official quiz thing on wizardingworld.com. Let's get sorted, baby. Choose one to continue, moon or stars? Moon, it's thicker. Which of the following would you? Ignorant, selfish, ordinary, or cowardly? Ignorant. Which pet would you choose to take with you? Everybody has an owl because they deliver mail, right? So I feel like toads get slept on. Oh, I have to choose which type of toad? Who would choose the common toad? The natterjack toad. Let's just choose that one because it's the weirdest. 4 goblets are placed before you. Which would you choose to drink? The smooth, thick, richly purple drink that gives off a delicious smell of chocolate and plums. The mysterious black liquid that gleams with ink. Ew, gives off hues that make you see strange things. This is stupid. Like, obviously this is the Slytherin drink because it's like the evil black drink. The foaming, frothing, silvery liquid that sparkles. So just cum. This is cum in a glass. The golden liquid so bright that it hurts the eye. I want the golden liquid, so piss. It's between like shit, piss, cum, grape juice. Which of the following would you most like to study? Merpeople, centaurs, werewolves, vampires, goblins, trolls, or ghosts? I feel like vampires are the coolest. Oh my god! One of your housemates has cheated in Hogwarts by... Oh my god, how long is this thing?
6.5 hours later.
Lie and say you don't know, but hope that somebody else tells so be a coward. Who would choose these? The Sorting Hat is ready to make its decision. Ladies and gentlemen, what house am I in? Please don't be Gryffindor, it's so basic. Damn it! Fuck, this is the last house anybody would want to be in, because it's like the basic bitch club. Oh my god, what's my Patronus? Is it gonna be a stag just like Harry? A snake? A black mamba. That's pretty cool. I wasn't expecting something cool. I thought it was gonna be like a badger or like a mouse. Okay. Now, I know that I was supposed to be in Gryffindor, but Slytherin throws the best parties.
Well, sit down.
So I just took a Slytherin robe and nobody questions me. You see that magic? Now that was magic. I used a teleporty spell. Duh, now I'm here. Sweet. The real reason being, I'm wearing a green robe, and I don't want it to be invisible because of the green screen. Who doesn't want to be part of Slytherin? They probably have a lot of fun people in that house, you know. A lot of assholes too, but you know, that's the full school experience. You need some douchebags in your classroom. I expect a lot of you probably want me to touch on the JK Rowling drama. I'm not going to talk in length about that. But the one thing I'll say is that I find it very strange that this woman spent years crafting this really rich story about a child who felt like they didn't belong. And so they discover a world where they do belong, and they're embraced by that world. And their parents hate them because they are different than them. I can definitely see how a trans person might relate to Harry's struggle and become attached to the story and love the stories. And it must suck being a trans person that loves Harry Potter and to learn how JK Rowling feels about trans people. I think Daniel Radcliffe said it best. If you found anything in these stories that resonated with you and helped you at any time in your life, then that is between you and the book that you read, and it is sacred. So yeah, transgender women are women, and I'll leave it at that. Now, as far as the movies go, they're amazing. I love them. I love all of them. I remember watching these movies in the theaters, and it was so much fun. The amount of hype surrounding these movies when you went to go see them rivaled that of Endgame.
This does put a smile on my face.
Personally, I had more fun watching the Potter movies in the theaters. It really was a magical experience, and rewatching them all for this video, I found really fun. All the memories came rushing back, and yeah, these movies hold a deep place in my heart. Not so much the books. I did read the books, but like after all the JK stuff came out, they kind of fell by the wayside, but the movies are still very magical to me, and I still like them a lot. And I gotta say, even after all the years have passed, after rewatching them, I still like them just as much. I like some more than others, but even the worst of them is still incredibly entertaining. But let's rewind time. I wish I had the time turner, because it 'cause it would make much more sense, but back in time we go, time we go, time we go, time we go. The first movie, Sorcerer's Stone. It was directed by Christopher Columbus, and I gotta say he nailed these movies. Since then, he's made some pretty mid to bad movies like Pixels, etc. But he brought his all here. Watching the behind the scenes of these movies is so cool. The way they make certain magic come to life, most of the time they don't use effects. These things are actually happening. They use like little machines underneath tables to make things float. It's crazy. It's awesome. So the movie starts with Dumbledore in the middle of the street using his Deluminator to remove some lights. I'm not sure why he's doing this. People could still very clearly see him without the lights on. And doing this would only attract more attention to him, I think. But, you know, it's just to like portray, hey, he's cool magic man. It's a pretty bright night. You can still see this guy. So then he drops Harry as a baby off in front of the Dursleys' home. Pretty shitty to leave this child with a family that you know is going to abuse him.
That is one of my more brilliant ideas.
Like what, there's no magical foster system in place? I think literally anything would have been better than this. Have Hagrid raise him, for fuck's sake, like damn. And not only that, these people are incredibly prejudiced against wizarding people. I know that they're related technically, but that'd be like dropping off your black baby in front of a person's home who's a KKK member. You know what I mean? Like, goddamn. What are you doing to this child? He's much better off with his family, Dumbledore says. No, dude.
Good luck.
I gotta say, this is one of the best casted movies of all time. Every single character played their role perfect. Rest in peace, Richard Harris and Richard Griffiths, because these two people were made to play these roles. I loved Dumbledore in the first two movies. And of course, rest in peace, Alan Rickman. Nobody could have played Snape better than him. In fact, I liked his character so much that I got his wand. Snape in these movies is amazing. So yeah, the Dursleys are huge assholes to Harry.
Any funny business, you won't have any meals for a week.
And they don't want him to leave to go to wizarding school. So Mr. Dursley does everything in his power to stop Harry from learning about the wizarding world and receiving a letter. They go out of their way to make sure that he doesn't learn about the wizarding world. They literally uproot their lives to stop Harry from going to the wizarding world.
Daddy's gone mad, hasn't he?
You don't even like this kid, just let him leave. So yeah, Hagrid shows up out of nowhere. He presents Harry with his cake, and Dudley starts stress eating the cake when Hagrid threatens his parents. It's hilarious. He's just hunched over in the corner like, so Hagrid brings Harry to the wizarding world, and it's really, really cool. The way that they present it is awesome. I think it's kind of strange how magic folk are hiding from regular people when magic folk should overpower regular people very easily, right? Maybe they're just outnumbered. It's just strange that it's not the opposite, you know? When they first enter Diagon Alley, it's such a cool scene. I love it. It's so cool. So one of the newest controversies in the Harry Potter world is about the goblins that run Gringotts Bank and how they have big noses and they're in charge of money. And some people are relating this to the anti-Semitic caricature of Jewish people and how they have big noses, etc. I very much doubt that was in the back of these people's minds when they were making the movie. I think goblins just have big noses. Personally, I think that was a bit of a reach to make that comparison. I'm not Jewish, so maybe Jewish people find this offensive. But to be offended by this, you have to go searching for things to be offended by, I think. Unless, of course, there's something behind the scenes that I don't know about that proves that these goblins were like a roundabout way of insulting Jewish people. But I haven't seen any evidence of that. So then Harry has to go to Ollivander's to get his wand. I like how this wand shop is deserted. It's in the middle of the day and there's people crowding the streets, but nobody is in the wand shop. I know people who don't have their wands yet are the people who go here, so it'd mainly just be like first years, but still. So then Ollivander has Harry test a wand to find out which one is compatible with him. It leads to a really fun scene. No. But you would assume that Ollivander would have some sort of less destructive way to test wands with his students, you know? That would require less cleaning, less broken wands.
Apparently not.
He just like gives him a wand. He's like, all right, just swing it around, see what happens. He could be doing this forever. He has this weird skill to just know what kind of wand would fit a certain kid. When Hagrid is telling Harry about Voldemort, I noticed some Star Wars parallels. Hagrid literally says he turned his followers over to the dark side.
Brought him over to the dark side.
Like he said dark side.
Turn to the dark side.
And Voldemort's this dark, evil wizard that wears a black cloak. turning his followers over to the dark side? Come on, man. Like, that's just Star Wars. I know Star Wars didn't create good and evil, dark and light and all that, but still. So then Hagrid leads Harry to the train station, and he just kind of abandons him. He's like, oh, I have something to do. Sorry, Harry, gotta go. He doesn't tell him how to get to platform 9 3/4. He just leaves him in the Muggle station with no idea what to do.
9 3/4. Think you're being funny, do ya?
Kind of a dick move, Hagrid. What were you thinking, man? Just leaving Harry here to just wander around? Luckily, he runs into the Weasleys, and they show him what to do. So then they start like rushing into the wall to enter platform 9 3/4, and there's Muggles all around them, watching them do this. Is there a spell on them to make them invisible so people don't see them do this, or what? Like, they don't explain it. They just kind of rush into the wall and hope nobody sees them. When we're introduced to Hermione, it's hilarious. She's a little bitch, like a little stuck-up asshole.
I'm Hermione Granger, and you are?
You got some dirt on your nose, just there. So then the first years go to Hogwarts. It's a really cool scene. They're on their little boats floating across a lake to get there. And then we meet Dumbledore. This guy is the most wizardy looking wizard I've ever seen. Dumbledore and Gandalf are like the wizards, you know? And I adore Michael Gambon, but Richard Harris is a wizard in this movie. Everything about this guy just screams wizard. He looks like a wizard, talks like a wizard, moves like a wizard. He is a wizard. Nobody could have played this role better.
There is a delicious-looking custard tart that I am most anxious to sup.
And it's hilarious when he starts talking to the students, because he introduces them to the school in the weirdest way. He tells them that parts of Hogwarts are out of bounds.
To everyone who does not wish to die a most painful death.
What a nice way to welcome your new students. I love the way Dumbledore claps in this movie. Whenever there's an applause, he claps like this. Like, you're not making any sound doing that, dude. Maybe he's using magic to make it sound super loud. Like he's doing this, but really you hear this. When they're bringing students up to be sorted by the sorting hat, there's this one girl that I totally forgot existed in the Harry Potter world. Her name is Susan Bones. Yeah, she comes up and they sort her into Hufflepuff, and that's it. She kind of just vanishes from the Harry Potter lore. And since I don't really know anything about Susan Bones, I looked her up, and I found out that she has the most depressing backstory out of anybody in the Harry Potter universe. More depressing than Harry, who lost his parents. More depressing than Ron, who had to wear that really ridiculous robe at their dance party. Put some respect on Susan Bones' name, because guess what? She literally had her entire family killed off by Voldemort. Her entire family. Everyone. Even her extended family. And her other aunt, Amelia Bones, was murdered by Voldemort during her 5th year. She makes Harry's problems look small in comparison. Susan later became a member of Dumbledore's army, an organization taught and led by Harry. Susan fought alongside her fellow DA members in the Battle of Hogwarts. But of course, we never hear about her again at all. Throughout the rest of the movie, she just vanishes. She must have the worst depression and PTSD and anxiety disorder of anybody in the entire school. Sorry, Susan Bones. I wish you had more screen time. At least you were in these 2 scenes. Eleanor Columbus played her in the first 2 movies, and she was never recast. I tried to reach out to her on Instagram to see if I could get a word from her, but she never responded. As far as reaching out to cast members, I reached out to pretty much every single cast member on Cameo to see if they could say a word in this video. And all of them canceled on me, except for one. The person who played Crabbe accepted it, but I'll mention that again when we get to that part. Then they show us the changing staircases, which must be incredibly inconvenient for students. How can you ever expect your students to be to their class on time if the stairs keep changing? This is hilarious because in the next scene, Ron and Harry are late to class, and the teachers always give them shit for this. Like, damn, just blame the stairs. That's what I would do, but these kids never do that. Later, this kid named Seamus is trying to cast a spell on water to turn into rum, and he's like screaming the spell. Everybody at this table can hear what he's doing, and the spell is pretty obvious. He's like, blah, 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 turn this water into rum. Like, he literally says what the spell does. And Harry turns to Ron, and he's like, hey, what's he doing?
What's Seamus trying to do to that glass of water?
I just can't hear what he's saying. Can you please repeat what he literally just said in the spell? Then we get the cool scene where the kids are learning to fly their brooms, and Neville has an accident with his broom. He ends up flying all around like crazy. The CGI was not the best back then. Case in point here, because Neville looks like a PS1 character.
As soon as I heard, I rushed down from my hut to give you a big congratulations.
Pause it during the scene when he's falling off his broom, and he looks like a video game character. It's silly, but I guess at the time it was convincing. So remember how a troll was released into the school? Well, it runs into Hermione, and the troll desperately wants to kill Hermione for some reason. It just wants her dead. It just swings this big club over and over at her for some unknown reason. Trolls are just angry. They just want to kill things. Maybe want to eat her, who knows? And the way that they knock out the troll is so silly.
Wingardium Leviosa!
Then we're introduced to Quidditch, the most dangerous sport in existence. People fly around at very high speeds. It's like hockey, but in the air and 1,000 times faster. You can fall off your broomstick and die. You can get hit by a bludger and die. I guess you could say it's not that bad because they're wizards and they can use spells to stop people from falling and whatnot, but still. In fact, if I was creating a team, I would create a team that focused only on defense. And I would find the best seeker in existence, and that would be my team. I would just send my guys to harass the other players so they couldn't do anything, and have my seeker catch the snitch. In fact, I would have my team attack their team's seeker. Like, all the focus should be on the snitch. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's fast, but still. In this school, they punish students for being outside during the night. They can't walk the halls at night. They gotta stay in their little dormitory things. But what they have no problem doing is sending first-year students who are very young out into the forbidden forest at night for detention. Like, that's their punishment. Going out into the woods where there's massive deadly spiders, centaurs, and a whole bunch of other things out there that could probably kill you. Wow. You can't walk the halls, but we'll send you into the deadly woods. And they're sent in pairs. Hagrid is watching 2 of the kids, but Harry and Draco have to walk alone with Hagrid's dog. Fang is gonna protect them, I guess. Oh my god. So later in the movie when they're trying to get the Sorcerer's Stone, they have to go through all these challenges. They put the dog to sleep, they catch the key that's flying amongst all the other keys, and then Ron has to play wizard's chess. Ron decides to play the game. There's no rule stating that he has to, like, become one of the chess pieces, you know what I mean? He just decides to mount a knight and, like, put himself in danger for some reason. He's just a weirdo that wants to play the game like it's real.
Once I make my move, the Queen will take me. Then you're free to check the King.
No. Ron, no!
Then there's a part when the Queen stabs the knight that Ron is sitting on. It doesn't injure Ron. Ron just like falls off the knight, but he's acting like he just got stabbed. He just passes out from fear or something. Like, you're fine, dude, just get up. And he didn't even have to sit on the knight, just play the game. What? Oh my god. Overall, I really like this movie. I think it got across the magical feeling of the wizarding world very well. It transitioned perfectly from the boring muggle world to the magical, mysterious wizarding world, and Christopher Columbus brought it to life in a really great way. The twist villain ending obviously isn't as impactful when you know it's coming. This movie has some really cute moments. All the actors played their parts perfectly, and honestly, this entire series has Christopher Columbus to thank because he casted these characters so well, and that benefited every subsequent film. Experiencing Hogwarts through Harry's eyes for the first time is really fun in this movie. It's very bubbly and childish with its delivery.
We know about the Sorcerer's Stone.
Oh.
At the end, there's this hilarious moment when Dumbledore starts handing out points to Gryffindor for like random ass reasons that most of the other students would not understand. He literally gives points to Gryffindor because Ron played good chess. Like, what? It seems like you can just hand out points to anybody who did something kind of mediocre. At the very end of this movie, Hagrid tells Harry before he leaves on the train to go back home that it's totally fine to threaten Dudley with magic.
We're not allowed to do magic away from Hogwarts. You know that.
But your cousin don't, do he?
He's got giant brain. You know how he's half giant? Well, he makes constant dumb decisions throughout these movies.
Shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that.
He's big, stupid, and lovable, but he regularly puts these kids in danger. Oh my god. Anyway, moving on to movie 2. The second movie, Chamber of Secrets, was also directed by Christopher Columbus, and so it kind of shares that childish tone of Sorcerer's Stone. This is my least favorite movie in the entire series. And it might sound like a bad thing when I say that, but I still like this movie a lot. It still had a lot of charm to it, the characters were played perfectly still. It was just my least favorite overall, and the one that I had the least fun rewatching. In the beginning of this movie, Mr. Dursley yells at Harry for ruining his Japanese golfer joke, and will do anything to stop him from returning to Hogwarts.
You just ruined the punchline of my Japanese golfer joke.
Sorry.
But what was the joke? They never tell the joke. What's the Japanese golfer joke? I gotta look it up. Okay, of course you can turn to Reddit to find these things. Here's a possible version of the joke. It's very long, so I'll just show it here for a second and you can read it if you want.
Harry Potter. Such an honor it is.
Why does Dobby love Harry so much? No idea. Where'd he come from? What? Dobby just kind of like comes out of nowhere as this random elf and he's like, I really want to save you, Harry. You can't go to Hogwarts. Can someone explain this to me? Why? Why? He gets him in trouble with his step-parents, who already hate him, by dropping a cake on their guest. Like, Jesus.
It's my nephew. He's very disturbed.
Bye, bitch.
So Ron comes out of nowhere with this car and saves Harry. So I put a note here that just says, Ginny looks at Harry like she just saw his dick. I guess when she first sees Harry, she like freaks out. The Weasley home is so cool. They put so many little details everywhere to make this into like a magic home.
It's not much, but it's home. I think it's brilliant.
Mr. Weasley asks Harry, what is the function of a rubber duck? And Harry never has a chance to answer him, so I will do the honors. To keep babies and young children occupied and happy during a bath. That is the function of a rubber duck. You're welcome. There's a funny moment when Harry says
Diagonally.
When he should have said Diagon Alley.
What did he say, dear?
Diagonally.
I thought he did.
And he ends up in Nocturne Alley. Nocturne Alley doesn't sound like Diagon Alley. So why didn't he end up in Diagon Alley? There's no town named Diagon Alley. Personally, I would have liked it a lot more if the flute powder kind of backfired and sent Harry into limbo. And he was just stuck there. And it ruined the entire rest of the series. So yeah, Hagrid is wandering around Nocturne Alley and he runs into Harry. Very convenient. I like how they show Muggles seeing Harry and Ron fly away in the car. It adds a little bit of realism because obviously some people would see this stuff happen. Sometimes, at least. Especially when kids are involved who are using magic just randomly. And Ron and Harry get punished for this later. Snape yells at them. So there's a part where Harry and Ron kind of fuck up. They're flying the car on the train track, like not above it, on it. And the train is behind them, so they have to like fly out of the way. Then there's a moment when Harry is hanging out of the car and Ron has to pull him back in. This is insane to me. This kid almost died. And Ron didn't think to turn the steering wheel slowly so the car would turn like this and then Harry could just fall into the car. Instead, he reaches out with one hand and is able to pull him up somehow? It's so dumb. So yeah, they get to the school, they crash into the Sock'em Bopp'em tree. And yeah, I guess the parents just forgot about their kids at the train station. Later, we get the potting mandrake scene. You know the mandrakes? The plants that scream when they're out of the soil? Apparently these are baby mandrakes.
Little baby man.
And the bigger ones scream so loud they kill people. Like their heads will pop or something. So they give these kids earmuffs, I guess. So while she's showing the kids this mandrake screaming, Neville faints. And Madam Sprout is just like,
just leave him there. Right, on we go.
Like, damn, do these teachers not care about the students at all? This movie introduces us to Gilderoy Lockhart. Kenneth Branagh played this role perfectly. Oh my god, did I hate Gilderoy Lockhart. This guy is such a douche. He was definitely the most hateable character in the entire series, of course until Professor Umbridge. He decides to unleash pixies onto the class for his first lesson as a defense against the dark arts teacher. I guess you don't have to pass a background check to become a teacher in the wizarding world. Like, why did Dumbledore hire this guy? He fooled Dumbledore? Dumbledore didn't know that this guy was a sham? What? You would assume that Dumbledore wouldn't be oblivious to this guy's lack of ability. So yeah, this absolute moron unleashes these pixies onto his class, and he has no idea how to deal with them. He just kind of runs and hides once he does this, and they terrorize the classroom. I'm not sure how he kept his job after this. Why is this guy so sure of himself when he's casting these spells throughout the movie, and he's constantly fucking up? He's failing over and over, but then later in the movie, when faced with real danger because of the Chamber of Secrets, he decides to try and flee the school. Wouldn't it be more in character for him to try and rush towards the danger? Because he's so confident that he can do these things. Almost as if he's starting to believe the lie that he created for himself, that he's this big hotshot. I don't know, maybe self-preservation overpowered that at the end. So then Ron casts the Eat Slugs spell on Draco because he called Hermione a mudblood. And it backfires on him, and it's so gross. He's puking slugs, and it's genuinely disgusting.
I need to first start off by asking you about the slug scene. Was that just miserable, or how did that work?
Oh, I love that scene. It was really fun.
Later in the movie, Ron fails to turn a rat into a cup in McGonagall's class. I think this scene would have been a lot better if the spell backfired and he turned himself into a cup, the Ron cup. This is what he would look like. Is there no ref or safety team during a Quidditch match? Because apparently not. During the Quidditch match, there's a rogue bludger chasing Harry, which could have easily killed him. But I guess there's no ref or safety team to help, which is weird because this is the most dangerous sport in existence. If any sport requires a ref and a safety team, it's Quidditch. And guess who cursed the bludger to chase and injure Harry? Dobby! This house elf is insane. It wants to kill Harry. This bludger could have easily killed Harry. Easily. But no, later Dobby's like, oh, I didn't want to kill you. I just wanted you to stop going to school because I wanted to save your life by trying to kill you. And it's also kind of strange for Dobby to think that he would be forced to leave school if he was injured when they can literally use spells to regrow bones. They do it in this movie. Gilderoy Lockhart tries to cast a spell to heal Harry's broken bone, and instead the spell just removes Harry's arm bones altogether. So he just has this floppy goopy arm. And the nurse of the school can just regrow people's bones. So yeah, there's no way that Dobby could injure Harry enough to send him home if the nurse can do this. Just saying, like, Dobby is dumb. So then we get the duel scene. Gilderoy Lockhart's like, oh, I'm a big hotshot. And he gets fucked up by Snape.
Time to duel!
So Gilderoy suggests that they should have some students test their abilities on each other. And so they have Harry and Draco come up. The way Snape quickly turns around and points at Draco, suggesting Malfoy to duel Harry, is hilarious.
Malfoy, perhaps?
Snape is so extra in his own strange gothic way. It's awesome. Like, he's always super serious and monotone, but then every once in a while he'll just like put in these little splashes of flair where he like spins around. Draco summons a snake to attack Harry, which, by the way, pretty cool spell. I guess you could call him a conjurer. Wouldn't that be like his class if this were a video game? This snake is very ineffective, by the way. It's like a tiny snake, and it doesn't try and bite Harry at all. It just kind of sits there. But then Harry starts talking to the snake, but I guess he doesn't know that he's speaking parcel tongue. He can hear what he's saying, right? Then he knows that he's speaking parcel tongue. But for some reason, this weird snake language can't be deciphered by the person saying it. You know, they just can say it randomly. And the people around can hear what he's doing, but he thinks he's just talking normally, I guess. In this movie, we learn that the password to Dumbledore's office is Sherbet Lemon.
Sherbet Lemon.
Yeah, you know, Dumbledore's on his king shit again. Harry has to go there because he's being accused of attacking someone, and of course he doesn't get in any trouble. In this movie, they have to create a polyjuice potion, and in order to do that, they have to gather hairs from people that they want to turn into. Ron, Harry, and Hermione want to turn into Crabbe, Goyle, and some random other Slytherin girl. And so their plan is to drug Crabbe and Goyle with spiked cupcakes. They float the cupcakes in front of Crabbe and Goyle while they're walking around the school. And they see them floating in the middle of the hall and they're like, oh my God, look, a cupcake just for me. This isn't weird at all. Food constantly just shows itself to us and we eat it. This is normal. I know this isn't the cafeteria, but hey, a little bit of a sweet won't hurt me. So they start eating these random cupcakes. Obviously it's a trap. Like, this is so stupid. Ooh, random cupcakes for me to eat. Yummy, yummy. Hermione accidentally used cat hair in hers because she got hair off of this girl's robes and it was a cat's hair. So she turns into a furry's dream, an actual cat girl person. So then Crabbe and Goyle start talking to Malfoy and we get a look at the Slytherin common room. I think this is one of the only times we get a look at it and it's pretty neat. I'm assuming Crabbe and Goyle still sound the same to Malfoy, but we hear Ron and Harry, because if that weren't the case, then Draco would definitely know that these guys are different people. They sound completely different, they're acting different.
You're acting very odd.
It's his stomachache.
We then get introduced to the wonderfully annoying Moaning Myrtle. And Tom Riddle, the version of Voldemort that everybody wants to fuck on the internet. I'm not joking, it's weird. Hermione gets petrified in this movie. They had to create a fake version of her. And I gotta say, it's pretty convincing for a fake human. It's very uncanny valley though. They don't know who's petrifying people. But if I were Harry, I would suggest Dobby, because Dobby's been trying to kill me since the beginning of the year, so seems like he would do literally anything to close the school to save Harry, even kill Harry. McGonagall even says that they might shut down the school because of all the kids that are being petrified. So I think Dobby would have had a much easier time shutting down the school if he just petrified a bunch of kids instead of trying to kill Harry. Harry and Ron confront Hagrid about the Chamber of Secrets, and they do so with the use of the invisibility cloak because they're not allowed to be outside after nightfall. Dumbledore and Cornelius Fudge enter Hagrid's hut. Ron and Harry are under the cloak so they can't see them. Ron starts talking at a normal volume to Harry underneath this cloak, and they're a couple feet away from these people.
Cornelius Fudge,
Minister of Magic.
Does the cloak remove sound too? I mean, it must, right? But Dumbledore knows they're there somehow. Because he's Dumbledore, he just knows things. Except when it comes to Gilderoy Lockhart, he was just completely fooled by this guy.
Hello.
Hagrid's in trouble in this movie, but before they take him away, he indirectly tells the kids to follow the spiders that lead them deep into the dark forest and into their nest, where a massive spider resides.
Wait, spiders? Why couldn't it be follow the butterflies?
Wow, cool, Hagrid, this isn't dangerous at all. Yeah, nice. I know you're friends with the spider and all, but these kids are much smaller than you, and they aren't friends with the spider. You could have easily just sent them to their death. I know you have half giant brain, but still, use your half human brain. Think. And the best part is, these kids are almost killed by these spiders. Their lives are only saved because the car randomly came out of nowhere and saved them. In this movie, if you look at the basilisk that's in the Chamber of Secrets, you will die, it will kill you. But if you look at the basilisk through a reflection or something else, then it will only petrify you. So every single student that's petrified in this movie just got very lucky, I guess. One saw it through a camera, Hermione looked at it through a mirror, and another saw it in the reflection of some water. So yeah, it looks like all these kids are putting all of their experience into the luck skill. It's pretty hilarious how McGonagall tells people that they were never able to locate the Chamber of Secrets, and they scoured the school. When they have magic, you can use magic to completely take apart the school, brick by brick, and then put it together again. Easily, you know? But they just couldn't find it. And it's not like the chamber is tiny, you know? It's a pretty massive chamber that they just couldn't find. And it's hilarious how the entrance to the chamber is in the same bathroom where Moaning Myrtle was killed, but somehow the entrance couldn't be found by any of the witches or wizards when it was under the sink in the bathroom where this girl was killed. Like, what? They didn't search the bathroom where this girl was killed? There's a pretty funny moment when Gilderoy Lockhart is about to be found out by the kids, and he tries to use the spell Obliviate on the kids, so they won't go talking about how he's a phony. But he uses Ron's wand, and it backfires on him. And so he erases his own memory, and he starts asking Ron a bunch of questions, and Ron gets really annoyed and hits him with a rock.
Do you live here?
No.
Really?
And it's so cheesy how Tom Riddle's name rearranges to I am Voldemort. That's how he came up with his name, because it literally spells I am Voldemort. Oh my god. I also found it strange that the basilisk has like really strong venom. If you get bit by one of these things, you're a goner. But it also can kill you by just looking at you? What's the point of the venomous fangs then? To kill blind things like moles and Stevie Wonder? Harry gets extremely lucky at the end of this movie and manages to land a killing blow on the basilisk with the Sword of Gryffindor. It has this wondrous, magical hero ending, but it's not very believable. He kills the diary by stabbing it with a basilisk fang. But the real hero of this movie is Fawkes, you know, the Phoenix, because he comes out of nowhere and blinds the basilisk, so it can't kill Harry. And it also saves Harry by crying on his wound, because Phoenix tears can heal. Damn. Harry is the luckiest kid alive, and he will continuously be the luckiest kid alive. Harry tricks Dobby into receiving a sock.
Dobby is free.
And so that frees him, and he fucks up Lucius, who was his previous owner. It's a pretty awesome scene.
You shall not harm Harry Potter.
At the end of this movie, Hermione finally gets to act again because she was petrified through half of it.
Hermione, welcome back.
When all the kids cheer for Hagrid at the end when he returns from Azkaban, it's kind of bittersweet, knowing that earlier in the movie, he almost sent Harry and Ron to their deaths. Overall, yeah, definitely my least favorite in the series, but it had its moments. Yes, I also have glasses and a scarf. I was going to wear them throughout the entire video, but the glasses reflect the light, as you can see, and it's annoying. And the scarf, it's just too hot, bro. It's just too hot. No. The third movie, Prisoner of Azkaban. This is the one and only movie directed by Alfonso Cuarón. Cuarón? I don't know how to say his last name. This is the same guy that directed Children of Men, a movie that I liked a lot. He also made Gravity, and I think he did a pretty decent job with this movie. The tonal change from one movie to another is the most drastic between The Chamber of Secrets and The Prisoner of Azkaban. Things are getting serious in the wizarding world now. I know that they were kind of serious before, but throughout both of Christopher Columbus's movies, there was this ongoing, like, goofy fun to them. There's a little bit of that in this movie, but you can tell that Alfonso is taking the series in a more adult direction. The movie starts with Harry turning that cunt Aunt Marge into a balloon, and it's amazing. I love this scene. Throughout all the movies, this was my favorite introduction to a Harry Potter movie. It's just such a brilliantly done scene. I'm pretty sure they actually blew her up into a balloon, and it's amazing. Overall, the scene is so well done. From the cinematography, the music, and it's incredibly entertaining. The color palette in this movie definitely looks more dead. It's more mute. It's not as colorful and vibrant like it was in the previous two. And then we get the magic school bus scene. Harry runs from home. I'm surprised he didn't do so sooner, but yeah, he's sitting on the side of the road, and then the magic school bus comes out of nowhere. It definitely gives me Totoro cat bus vibes. I guess it's called the magic night bus. This part is also hilarious. Take it away, Ernie, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. Then the jazz kicks in and the bus speeds down the road. It's such a great scene. It honestly should have been a ride at Universal Studios. And then it stops for the granny that's crossing the street, only to blast off again. It's just perfect for a ride, if you think about it. And then it squeezes between two other double-decker buses, and their faces get all distorted. So then Harry has a meeting with Cornelius Fudge and his little hunchback friend, Igor. I'm not sure if his name is actually Igor, but he looks like an Igor, so... And both of these people desperately want Harry Potter to eat food. I mean, maybe he could gain some weight, but damn. They're trying to force feed him in this scene. It's weird. And it's something that I definitely didn't remember until I watched it again. Then we get the Monster Book of Monsters in this movie. It attacks Harry in one scene. It does something else in another scene later on. And of course, they turn it into merch just like they turned everything from this franchise into merch. The Dementor introduction was very well done. It starts with the windows freezing over. A Dementor starts creeping around the train. While we were watching this, my wife Sarah told me that this part in the video game, she just couldn't get past when she was younger. I personally never played the game for this. I just thought that was funny. We get a choir scene of a bunch of kids singing Double Double Toil and Trouble. And there's this one Hufflepuff girl that has the wildest facial expressions while she's singing. Like, you know that when she was told she was going to be in a Harry Potter movie, she freaked out and wanted to give it her all during this part, because who knows if she would be in any other parts. And it is hilarious. I've never seen someone accentuate their face so much while singing. Double, double, toy and trouble. Oh, just doing that hurt my face. This is the first movie with Michael Gambon as the new Dumbledore. And I think out of everybody that they could have found, Michael Gambon is perfect for the role. They honestly did a perfect job recasting Dumbledore. It's not very often when you get two people that played the same character in the same series and you like them both almost equally. He doesn't have as much of that stereotypical, endearing old man wizardy vibe to him like Richard Harris had. But what he brings to the table is a more lively version of Dumbledore, and I think Michael Gambon took up the mantle perfectly. This is also the movie where we meet Buckbeak the Hippogriff, and Hagrid is being just as irresponsible as ever. This is a potentially very dangerous creature, and he's having these kids approach it one by one, and at the first sign of this hippogriff not showing aggression towards Harry, he hoists Harry up in the air and throws him on top of it, forcing him to fly on it. Oh my god. If I were Harry Potter, I don't know, I would not be a big fan of Hagrid. All the shit he puts me through is just like, I would avoid him at all costs. Hagrid smacks the thing's ass and has it fly away without giving Harry any instruction on how to fly it or what to do when he's in the air. Like, it's insane. What the fuck is wrong with Hagrid?
I like it, Kudgy.
And then Draco gets scratched by it and he starts acting like he's on his deathbed. Draco is a huge pussy throughout these movies. It's pretty hilarious. This is the part where I would have put Tom Felton roasting me and my channel if he accepted the cameo that I ordered.
This is where I'd put a
cameo.
If I had one!
But he canceled them, so I tried, guys. We then get the hilarious Boggart scene. Basically, it's like the shape-shifting creature that Lupin keeps locked in a closet, which is pretty awful. He's not treating it very well, and he only lets it out so people can use spells on it. This poor Boggart. It is a pretty funny scene though. This is the part where we get to see Snape wearing a grandma's clothing. So yeah, the idea is that you're supposed to use a spell called Ridiculous, and it changes the Boggart from something scary into something funny. This one girl uses the spell on it, and it turns from a snake into this insanely creepy clown thing. Like, what? How is that funny to anybody? That is the scariest looking clown I've ever seen in my life. God, this girl has a very strange sense of humor. Then we get some really cool scenes in Hogsmeade. The creativity does not stop in this movie. It's really fun seeing how they can create this wizarding world and make it a reality. And for the most part, without special effects. I gotta say, Daniel Radcliffe did not do his best work in this movie. I found some of the scenes where he's upset kind of cringy.
I hope he finds me. Because when he does, I'm gonna be ready. When he does, I'm gonna kill him.
Ooh, you're odd.
So yeah, throughout this movie, everybody thinks Sirius Black is this really awful guy. And then Harry Potter overhears a conversation about how his parents used to be friends with Sirius. And then we get this really awful explosion from Harry. It goes like this.
He was their friend!
He was that friend!
Oh my god. And then he does this like rapid jaw wiggle thing whenever he's upset. He does this for some reason. He like... This is also the movie where we get the Marauders map, which is a very cool plot device. It's this magical map. It basically shows the whereabouts of anybody throughout Hogwarts. I'm sure the map kind of breaks the stories in some way. Like, oh, this character should have used it during this part, or this character should have used it during this part to find this person. You know, it's just one of those things. Like, when you introduce something like this, it opens up a million questions. Like, for example, you'd assume that Dumbledore would have access to magic to make something like this, and he would have given something like this to, I don't know, Filch, the groundskeeper, who makes sure the kids aren't out of bed at night. It would make his job a lot easier. So he doesn't have to walk around the halls constantly. But anyway, I guess Lupin, Sirius, and all these other wizards are better with magic than Dumbledore or something, and they can create something like this? I don't know. As if Draco wasn't being dealt a pretty awful hand in this movie already, Hermione punches him directly in the face. Like, yeah, Malfoy's a douche, but he keeps getting his ass kicked, so, I mean, just whatever. As far as really broken plot devices are concerned, this movie also introduces the Time Turner. I could go on forever about how this device breaks every single movie, you know? I'm sure you've heard these complaints before. Basically, if anything goes wrong, well, why didn't Dumbledore just turn back time and set it right? When you start introducing time manipulation devices, it gets really messy. And I don't think that was very smart on JK's part. Especially since the big twist involving the Time Turner in this movie, it wasn't even that cool. You know, it was like, oh, Hermione got to classes easier. And they saved themselves with the Time Turner. And they were able to save Buckbeak and Harry using the Time Turner, because they could be two places at once. I can think of many instances throughout these movies where being two places at once would have been very handy. Whatever. I'm just gonna stop it there because I could honestly just make an hour-long video ranting about how broken the Time Turner is. And I'm sure somebody out there, maybe even JK, has written something about how the Time Turner isn't actually as powerful as people think it is. The Time Turner introduces closed loops. It operates on the premise that the universe will always try and revert to the way it was before. Basically, by returning to the spot where Hermione used the Time Turner initially, this had closed the loop to everybody else, so nothing had changed. The basic idea is that you don't accidentally bump into your past self and kill them, change their actions, or shift their perception of events. This is where we hit a paradox and things kind of get messy. There's this pretty funny thing I read online about the Time Turner, and it goes as follows. Let's pretend Dumbledore gives Hermione the Time Turner at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday. She walks from the room, hides in a closet, and turns back the Time Turner 1. Hermione intercepts her past self and renders her petrified. Now, Hermione never receives the Time Turner, but she can't have not received the Time Turner because she used the Time Turner to stop herself from receiving the Time Turner. So we can assume that that would just make you go insane. Something that kind of saves it is that the largest amount of time that a wizard can travel back is 5 hours without causing harm. What causing harm means? No idea.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
It's pretty insane that McGonagall gave a Time Turner to Hermione just so she could attend more classes, which is the most irresponsible thing you can possibly do. Why are these teachers so insane? They gave these incredibly powerful tools to kids. What? So apparently this is what I read online. The Time Turner works on Novikov's self-consistency principle. The principle suggests that one timeline exists, and that a time traveler cannot change the past, but can affect events in a way that creates no inconsistency. If Harry and Hermione weren't able to get back to the same spot at the exact time Hermione received the Time Turner, then it would have broken so much stuff. And they don't even reach the same spot. Ron watches as they pretty much teleport from one spot to another because their past selves is trying to catch up to their future selves. And Ron just accepts this as a weird thing that happens. He's like, whoa, that's... what? You guys were here, now you're there. Okay, and they don't explain it to Ron. You'd assume that they would tell Ron that they'd use the Time Turner, just so he doesn't lose his mind. And the way the Time Turner is used throughout the movie is kind of wonky. Harry and Hermione just get hit by rocks randomly in one scene. And you're like, oh, well that's weird. And they just forget about it and continue on with the story. So Professor McGonagall gave Hermione the Time Turner, a 13-year-old, so she could attend more classes. That is insane. Okay, the Time Turner class is over. Students dismissed. The Whomping Willow scene is just ridiculous. So Ron gets carried by Animorph dog Sirius under the tree. His cries are hilarious. He's just like screaming while this dog's carrying him away. Hermione is lifted by the Whomping Willow. She's being swung about. She grabs Harry by his t-shirt and somehow lifts him into the air this way, and they both start flying around. Eventually, they all end up below the Whomping Willow. Then we get one of the best scenes in the movie. This is when Lupin and Sirius Black confront Harry, Hermione, and Ron. Sirius Black and Lupin hate Peter Pettigrew, and they know he's in the room. And they're talking about how much they want to kill him, basically. But Harry thinks that they're talking about him. It's a brilliantly done scene. Although realistically, they probably would have explained everything to Harry and the kids immediately instead of stringing them along this entire time, confusing the hell out of them.
I understand.
Let's kill him.
No! I trusted you!
Because obviously they don't know Peter Pettigrew is the rat. And Snape comes out of nowhere and they fuck him up. Later, Lupin turns into a werewolf. And for someone who knows pretty much everything about everything, Hermione is so dumb in this scene. She tries to talk to Lupin after he's already turned into a werewolf. Shouldn't she know that he's not the same person anymore? What? This is even funnier because when Snape is teaching a lesson on werewolves, her hand is constantly in the air. And he makes fun of her because she's a know-it-all. Oh my god. When future Harry saves past Harry from the Dementors, you don't hear anything. A big beam of light comes out of nowhere and saves him. But then we see this same scene from future Harry's perspective, and Harry screams the spell. He like belts it out.
Expecto Patronum!
I know you're across a lake right now, but you would be able to hear that. I know they didn't include it originally because they wanted the reveal to be, you know, more intense. And he couldn't have just done the spell without screaming it out because it would just make the scene stupid if he didn't say anything. So I understand why they did that way. It's just kind of silly. There's a couple second scenes in this movie that must have taken forever. Like when Lupin is packing up his stuff at the end of the movie, and we get the scene of his luggage packing itself. It's so intricately done. That's what I love most about these movies. There truly is magic in the filmmaking here. The movie ends with a goofy Daniel Radcliffe flying on a broom. Overall, I like this movie a lot. I like the change in tone. I like how they tackle things like awful journalism and how that can drastically affect the public's perception of somebody. I like how they went further into family's roots. And it's really fun in this movie to learn about the wizards that were there before Harry and Hermione and Ron. And this movie is full of iconic moments. Okay, on to the next one. Goblet of Fire, the one and only movie from this franchise directed by Mike Newell. I think it's so interesting to see a series like Harry Potter and all the different directors that put their own spin on the movies, but ultimately they all achieved the same thing, and they were all on the same path towards an endpoint. The series is brilliant. And then to look at something like, I don't know, Star Wars, for example, where there wasn't one succinct vision, and these directors were almost fighting over what they wanted Star Wars to be, it's just interesting to look at the two very drastic sides of the spectrum. So yeah, the Goblet of Fire. I totally forgot about the old geezer that gets toasted in the beginning of this movie. Then there's the cool part at the International Quidditch Games. They have a little tiny tent, but when you go inside, it's huge. One of the Quidditch teams at this event is the Irish. If you pause the movie as soon as they introduce these Irish Quidditch players, you'll realize that a bunch of them are just old dudes. Like, what? Apparently people are just playing this incredibly dangerous sport up into their 60s. So that's interesting. Then these death metal KKK Death Eaters come out of nowhere, and they start blasting the place.
It started blasting, bang, bang.
And then Harry Potter gets knocked unconscious. This would be a perfect time to snatch the kid up, right? Like, I know this is like the movie where Voldemort comes back, but I guess they just missed him there. He's just lying there, but conveniently his friends find him first. And then these good wizards pop out of nowhere and blast the kids without confirming whether or not they're evil or not. They're just like, all right, blast them.
Bang! Try to shoot him in the back, but I don't want so good either.
But the kids duck just in time, so lucky for them. So then we get introduced to the Beauxbatons, or these French girls in blue, and their introduction is hilarious. They do these weird like moans while they're dancing down the aisle. It's very weird. Then the Sigma Grindset Durmstrang dudes come out of nowhere. I love how all of the wizards are female in France, and all the wizards are male in Bulgaria. Bulgaria, lots of testosterone, very manly. France, very petite, very girly. You know, lots of women, no men. Hagrid keeps up his tomfoolery in this one as well. He accidentally stabs Professor Flitwick through the hand with a fork, because Big Lady makes his wand hard. Mad-Eye Moody makes his first appearance in this movie, and his acting is brilliant. So yeah, the big thing in this movie is the Goblet of Fire. These kids who are of a certain age have to put their names into the goblet, and the goblet magically chooses who it wants to compete in the games. Harry Potter's name is randomly in the goblet, and the teachers come to the conclusion, hey, he's not of age, and this makes it unfair to the other schools, because Hogwarts now has 2 people from the school contending. But hey, the goblet says so, and the goblet doesn't make mistakes, so Harry has to compete. What? It's so dumb. Blador. Yeah, Harry Potter has no choice. He has to attend this incredibly dangerous tournament because Magic Cup says so. We do what Magic Cup says. McGonagall is the only person with any sense, and she thinks it's stupid and Harry should not attend, I guess. But yeah, he attends anyway, obviously. They take the fake news shit from the last movie and amp it up to 100 in this one. Rita Skeeter the cunt. She's in this movie. She's a reporter and she doesn't give a shit what people tell her. She just reports what she wants to report. And then people eat it up. Beat 'em up, beat 'em up, beat 'em up, beat 'em up. Also, Ron is a salty baby bitch in this movie.
Little baby man. Little baby man.
He just can't handle that Harry Potter is famous.
Yeah, that's me. Ron Weasley, Harry Potter's stupid friend.
Even though he had no issue with it during the first 2 movies, he was just as famous then. He suspects that Harry put his own name into the goblet, and he's lying to him about it, because Harry is obviously very big-headed. And what does this famous kid want? More fame. Except he doesn't. In fact, in both of the previous movies, Harry has done nothing to even suggest that he likes the fame. He keeps his ego in check very easily. And what's weirder is that Ron doesn't even have an issue with it until Harry's name was randomly pulled from the Goblet of Fire. I guess he's jealous because Harry's name is always in the limelight and he's like always the famous one. But still, dude, come on, man. He's your friend. Believe him when he tells you that he didn't put his name in the goblet, because he tells him that and Ron doesn't believe him. He's just like, yeah, sure you didn't. Harry has no reason to lie to you, Ron. Like, what the hell, man? Why would he even want to attend? This is a super dangerous and scary tournament. Like, what? Ron wins Worst Friend of the Year in this movie. Then there's the part when Moody turns Malfoy into a ferret because he was about to cast a spell on Harry, who had his back turned. And he uses magic to force the ferret down Crabbe's pants. So Draco got a nice good look at Crabbe's massive dick. So I wonder if that impacted their friendship at all.
I've seen things.
So I went ahead and asked him. Yeah, I asked Crabbe how it impacted their friendship. And this is what he had to say.
Elvis, is this going to be private? Yeah, it's a private message. You're not going to show anyone this. It's like therapy for me. Obviously, you know me, I'm Crabbe. I'm still at Hogwarts. I'm still going there. But I've had a lot of traumatic events happen to me since going to Hogwarts and my whole life. And I've been to Azkaban and I've had a lot of trauma. But I must admit, the day that has stuck with me ever since was the day Mad-Eye Moody turned my best friend into a ferret, okay? And not only did he turn him into a ferret, he put him down my pants. And ever since that day, Malfoy still smells like booze, okay? He can't get the smell off of him. He's traumatized. He tries to play hard, but he's traumatized. Part of me thinks he enjoyed it though, because it was a struggle to get him out. It was like he wanted to stay there. But ever since then, I've not been able to look him in the eyes. He hasn't looked me in the eyes ever since. We hang around each other, but we don't speak. It's an unspoken thing. We never recovered from it, and I don't think we ever will, ever. So I know this is a private message. You're not going to show anyone this, right? I trust you, so I can talk to you as a wizard to a fellow wizard. I assume you're a wizard. Yeah, so I'll open up to you and I'll be honest about it. And on a separate note, though, I would also like to say, even up here in Hogwarts, we're down with your channel. I've been subscribed to you since 2015. Huge flipping fan. So I was surprised when I got this opportunity. One of my favorite things as well about you, my favorite episode you did, was the Asian Onision interview. I thought that was brilliant when you went out and you visited him and stuff. But yeah, I'm a huge fan. On a separate note, huge fan. So's Goyle and the rest of us. We watch it at Hogwarts, man. We're tuned into YouTube. But yeah, I've never recovered ever. till this day, and I don't think Malfoy has either. It's just not the same. But yeah, so I'm gonna keep this one quick and I'm gonna go. But keep up the good work, Elvis, man. I look forward to your next upload. Huge fan. Crab's on your side. Yeah, you're an honorary Slytherin member. So anyone tells you anything or they want to put bad comments, they got me to answer to. Yeah, it goes Malfoy, Crab, Goyle, and Elvis the Alien. And if you ain't subscribed to him, what the fuck you doing? Subscribe. Take care. Adios.
Thank you so much, Jamie Waylett, for being the only person that accepted my cameo. It means a lot. Then we get the first game of the tournament. Basically, these kids have to retrieve a golden egg from a dragon. It's insane. Like, what the hell? You might as well just put them in front of a firing squad. And they all succeed. What? How? And apparently they can't use the spell Accio, you know, to like retrieve the egg. They can't say Accio egg and the egg will come to them. I read online somewhere that there's a counter spell put on the eggs. So the kids couldn't use that spell to get them. So if the kids can't use spells to get the egg, then they just have to like walk over and get it, right? I guess they could try like stunning the dragon or something with a spell. Is that allowed? Can you do that? At no point do they explain why a student can't just be like, Accio egg, and then the egg will come to them. So instead, Harry says Accio broom, and his broom comes to him, and he flies around, and he gets the egg that way. This part is so funny to me because this dragon, who is the most dangerous dragon, breaks free from its restraints and it chases Harry outside of the arena and they just fly around. This dragon could have easily just eaten Harry and none of the teachers try to save him or do anything to help him. It's so weird. Like, what? They're totally fine with people dying in this tournament? Oh my God. And Harry nearly dies multiple times throughout this part. But yeah, he miraculously survives and he gets the egg. So I guess luck is on his side. When Professor McGonagall is teaching everybody how to dance and she forces Ron to dance with her, that scene is awesome. I loved it.
Never gonna let him forget this, are you?
Never.
In this movie, Ron has the least amount of game I've ever seen in a human being. He's trying to find a date to the Yule Ball, and he's not sure who to ask. When his best friend is Hermione, I mean, come on, man. He doesn't realize this until later, until finally he turns to her and he's like, hey, Hermione, you're a girl. Do you wanna go? Wow. Unbelievable. Pathetic.
It's one thing for a bloke to show up alone. For a girl, it's just sad.
The fact that she actually ends up with him is insane to me. It's unbelievable. The next game is the Mermaid Challenge. Basically, they take someone you love, put them into a comatose state, and shove them 2 miles below the ocean. And it's your job to go down there and save them. And guess what? There's like 1,000 deadly mer people just swimming around, and they could easily kill you or the person you love. So good luck. Never mind just finding some way to breathe underwater for that long. But yeah, that's the game. Fleur Delacour, I think that's how you say her name, she gets disqualified from this game. So Harry takes it upon himself to save the person that she should have saved. So what, if you're disqualified, you just have to leave them in the ocean forever or what? Like, because she thanks Harry at the end. Like, she's really grateful that he saved her. I'm assuming they would have allowed her to go down there after the game, but I'm not sure. And what about these poor bastards that are forced under the ocean just because they happen to be a loved one of one of these athletes? That would suck. If I were a family member or a friend to somebody who just entered the Goblet of Fire games, I would leave the country because I don't want to end up at the bottom of the ocean. I really liked the Mad-Eye Moody twist in this movie, especially how you find out information through the pensieve. It was really fun. He's drinking Polyjuice Potion throughout the movie, but upon your first watch, you obviously just think he's an alcoholic. This works a lot better than in the previous movie when Harry was just hit by a rock that came through the window randomly and then they forgot about it. Like, if someone threw a rock at me through my window, I would go out to see who did that, you know? I'd be like, what the hell, dude? I wouldn't just be like, oh, well, that happened. On with my day. The last trial of the Goblet of Fire is the biggest hedge maze in existence. And not only that, this maze is a huge asshole. It constantly changes the paths within the maze. If you're standing in a path that's being changed, the maze will just swallow you. It will also try and curse and alter the minds of the people in the maze, which happens to Victor Crumb. Who designed these challenges? Oppenheimer? Like, what the fuck? So yeah, obviously at the end, they meet Voldemort after Cedric and Harry touch the goblet at the same time. Cedric is killed by Voldemort. Harry is able to escape and he brings Cedric's body back with him. I gotta say, Robert Pattinson did a pretty good job in this movie. He didn't have that many lines, but the parts that he was in, you know, he did fine, I thought. He's definitely the most iconic Hufflepuff. I mean, obviously he doesn't have a lot of competition, but you know, again, put some respect on Susan Bones. Cedric's death is very sad, and his father's reaction to finding his dead son is heartbreaking, because he sees them come back and he's overjoyed, like, oh my God, yes, we might have won. And then he finds out that his son is dead, and his reaction is very believable.
That's my son! That's my boy!
The whole Goblet of Fire being a port key that teleports the people who touch it to Voldemort was kind of dumb. It's kind of a massive pain in the ass for Barty Crouch Jr. because he spends the entirety of this movie pretending to be Mad-Eye Moody, so he has to constantly drink Polyjuice Potion, he has to teach classes, and at the same time, make sure that Harry will win the Goblet of Fire.
You put my name in the Goblet of Fire. You bewitched Crumb, but
Which is kind of ridiculous, right? Like, he could have easily lost. I guess they got lucky, but whatever. Like, it makes for a cool twist in the story, but in reality, I think it would have been a lot easier if he made Harry's cup at dinner a port key instead. You know, I think that'd be a better plan, a more foolproof plan, you know? Harry's probably going to touch the cup to get a drink. But oh my God. Yeah, sure. Make the port key something that's a huge obstacle to touch. And I gotta say, it's pretty hilarious that a Death Eater was behind Harry surviving pretty much every single one of these games. Like, thanks, Barty Crouch Jr. Nice job. Overall, I really like this movie. I think Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson's acting have improved since the last movie. And yeah, overall, pretty solid movie. Not my favorite, but it was fun. On to the next one. Order of the Phoenix. This is the first Potter movie directed by David Yates, and all of the subsequent Potter movies will also be directed by David Yates, and I think he did an incredible job. Granted, they're darker and for a more grown-up audience, but the movies David Yates made are probably my favorite in the series. He also made the 2016 Tarzan movie. Do you guys remember that? No, you don't. Don't lie. Don't lie. You don't. You don't. David Yates is also responsible for the Fantastic Beasts movies. I think the failure of those has more to do with the story than the directing. But I'm probably going to make a massive video on those movies when the next one comes out. And I'm pretty sure there's like 5 of them being made. Like, who? What? So in the beginning of this movie, Dudley and Harry run into Dementors after Harry gets bullied by Dudley and his friends. I guess Dudley's like a cool kid somehow, and he has a bunch of friends? How? Anyway, when they're getting attacked by Dementors, Harry doesn't even think about using his wand until he's like on the brink of death. It's so weird. When 3 minutes ago, he was about to use it on Dudley for bullying him. His priorities are a little weird. Don't bully me, dude, or I'll send you into the stratosphere. But if a Dementor comes out of nowhere and starts sucking the soul out of my ass, then I'll think about it. I'll think about using my wand. I know he's not allowed to use it, but come on, dude. Like, come on. So yeah, obviously Harry uses his Patronus on them, and this propels the movie forward because he gets in big trouble. So Harry gets expelled from the school because of this. When Uncle Vernon learns about this, his reaction is hilarious. I love the way he says justice. It's so good.
Justice.
Justice. This guy's face, oh man, he is perfect for the role. They couldn't have found a better person to play Uncle Vernon. It's just not possible. If you were to ask someone what the rules are as far as magic goes in the Harry Potter universe, most people wouldn't be able to answer you because there simply aren't any. Sometimes people have to yell the spell and then flick their wrist.
Oh, and don't forget to swish and flick the shit out of your wand.
Other times they don't have to say shit and spells just come out of the wand. Sometimes muggles can see the spells, other times they can't see the spells. Sometimes wizards can open walls in front of muggles and they won't notice. Sometimes wizards can run through walls and muggles won't notice. Other times muggles will notice. But they don't really explain why these things happen. It's just magic. Personally, I prefer magic systems that are more complex. I know that takes a lot of the mystery out of it, but personally, I'm willing to sacrifice some mystery as long as the world makes more sense. A great example of a story that does this well is Patrick Rothfuss's The Kingkiller Chronicle. I absolutely love the magic systems in those books, but I definitely see why people would love the magic in Harry Potter, because it's whimsical, it's magical, it's fantastical. It doesn't make sense because it's not trying to. It's just magic. So this movie is much darker in tone than the previous movies. In the beginning of this movie, Harry attends a trial. So yeah, obviously if they're bringing lawyers into this, it's not gonna be for children, so. And who is Harry's lawyer? Oh, he doesn't have one. Just kidding. It's Dumbledore. Albus Wulfric Percival Brian Dumbledore. I love how one of his middle names is just Brian. I'm sure there's some HP lore that I'm just not familiar with, but what were his parents thinking? Why throw the Brian in there? Like, this dude has 9 names as it is. Just take the Brian out, all the other names sound cool. And I like how the Ministry knew that Dumbledore was going to try and get Harry off of the hook, so they changed the time of his trial at the last second. But Dumbledore still found a way to get there on time. Those bastards. Oh my god, they're so dirty. Those dirty fuckers. This movie introduces us to Dolores Umbridge. I don't think I've ever hated a character more than Dolores Umbridge. Some people come close, like Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones, but goddamn, this woman, she is so hateable. It's impressive. Imelda Staunton, you did amazing in this role. I don't know what it is about the Harry Potter movies. I know I'm repeating myself, okay? But these movies were cast so well. It's so impressive, honestly. This woman is obsessed with order and making sure everything is in its correct place. Oh, she also likes cats. There's a million kittens on her wall. They're probably all slave kittens stuck in these pictures, and they're all screaming to be released. I just made that up, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. So before Harry goes to detention for saying something about Voldemort existing, Dolores is shown straightening a pencil on her desk because she loves order and structure. But then they cut to a different shot and the pencil is not straight. You didn't think I would notice that? She just straightened that pencil. Look at it now. Why isn't it straight still? What? This is the type of bullshit I won't abide by in these movies. Disgraceful. In this movie, they also introduce us to the Bloodborne Pegasus. They're called like pastorals or something. They can only be seen by people who have witnessed death or have acquired enough insight, if you will. This is a very Bloodborne-esque creature. I'm a big fan. Although there's a part where people fly them later, like kids who haven't seen death. So what, they're just flying nothing? They climb up onto nothing and it starts to fly? That's probably kind of scary. And how do you not bump into these things, huh? They pull carriages all over the place. I'm sure these kids must bump into them sometimes, you know? But no, they just don't know what they are. They don't know how these carriages are being pulled. They're magic carriages. No, you're telling me these kids never once tried to walk in front of the carriage where these creepy Pegasus things are? I call bullshit. So Hermione scolds Ron for eating, and it is hilarious. I always forget how funny these movies can be just by people's reactions to things.
Do you ever stop eating?
I'm hungry.
Just the simple reactions that Ron gives sometimes are so funny. I couldn't help but think about this, okay? Imelda Staunton, the actress that played Dolores Umbridge, she must be very famous for this role. She's married and has a single child. I'm just wondering, say her child like smoked a little bit of weed or something and her mom yelled at her. Do you think her kid calls her mom Dolores? Whenever she's in a fight with her mom, do you think she just says, "Shut up, Umbridge"? I don't know. She's probably like the sweetest woman on earth. There's a part when Professor Umbridge literally measures how tall Professor Flitwick is. Oh my god. Like as if his height has anything to do with how well he can teach a class. And of course, there's the infamous scene of Dolores Umbridge trying to banish Professor Trelawney off of the grounds because she deems her useless as a teacher, I guess. This was such a great tactic to make people hate Dolores Umbridge. Oh God. Because Professor Trelawney is kind of quirky and strange, but also really lovable. You can tell that she's in love with the school. This is her home. Her entire life is this classroom. So just seeing her standing out in the courtyard, feeling completely helpless with her little bags, is so sad. It gets me every single time I see this. And then the absolute queen, McGonagall, comes out and defends her, and then Dumbledore comes out of nowhere and saves the day. It's a really impactful scene. Since Harry knows about the rise of Voldemort, he doesn't want himself and his fellow students to be defenseless. Dolores Umbridge works with the Ministry, and she believes that everything about the Dark Lord rising is false.
This is a lie.
So she completely changes the Defense Against the Dark Arts class so that the kids aren't actively learning spells. Instead, they're just reading textbooks. And obviously, Harry doesn't like this, so he creates Dumbledore's army. That's what he calls it, even though Dumbledore doesn't know it exists. Weird name to give it. Whatever, they like Dumbledore. One thing I find kind of strange is that they write down all the members of this army on a piece of paper. Like they title it Dumbledore's Army, and they list all of the kids that are part of this group. There's no way this could possibly be used against them later. Of course, it is used against them later, and it forces Albus to leave the school, so Dolores can take over as headmaster. Why do they have to write down the names? Like, I'm sure these kids will remember that they're a member, right? You don't have to write it down. And if you have to write it down, use magic to like password protect it on a piece of paper or something, so no rando can just come along and read it. Yeah. I gotta say, the Room of Requirement, just the idea of the Room of Requirement is very cool, and I think it works wonders in this movie. It's an interesting concept, and one that I think is pretty sick in a world where people can use magic. Filch is kind of onto the kids. He knows that they're up to something, so he sneaks around and tries to follow them. He basically just does the Burger King Sneak King walk when he's following them, and it's so funny. Like, come on. It's so animated, but it's so funny. So the Weasley twins leave a heart-shaped box of chocolates for Filch, and he's like, oh, it must be for me. What the hell? Like, Crabbe and Goyle did the same shit earlier. How come whenever these people find a random snack just floating there, they're like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna eat that. So then Filch gets these massive boils all over his face, and one of them pops. Like, was that necessary? I gotta say, Daniel Radcliffe's acting has improved a lot since the last movie. In this movie, we learned that Harry's dad was a bullying asshole, which I think is kind of neat, because obviously we were led to believe that Harry's parents were perfect, when obviously they weren't. They had a lot of flaws, just like everybody else, and when Harry learns that, it kind of like shatters his perception of them, and he has a hard time believing it. So yeah, I like that. So then there's the Weasley fireworks display in the testing room, and it's amazing. The kids lead Professor Umbridge into the forest because they promise her there's this secret weapon that they're hiding in there somewhere. Obviously, they're lying. She gets taken by centaurs, and it's the best moment in movie history.
Tell them I mean no harm!
I'm sorry, Professor. I must not tell lies.
There's this interesting spell that Luna Lovegood uses in this movie. It's this spell called Levi Corpus, and she uses it on a Death Eater and sends him flying up into the Netherrealm. He presumably floats up and drops to his death. Oh my god, why aren't more people using this spell? Screw stunning someone. Just send them all the way up into space. Harry Potter and the crew are in this prophecy room. All of these glass balls are random prophecies, and they destroy all of them. Pretty much, like there's billions in this room, and they're all destroyed. Good work, guys. I know they're trying to escape and survive, but yeah, that's a lot of lost prophecies. I hope none of them matter to anybody, because Sorry. There's a part in this movie when Harry Potter uses the Crucio curse on Bellatrix, but it doesn't torture her. Remember when Mad-Eye Moody used it in the previous movie? When Harry uses it on Bellatrix, she just doesn't care, I guess. Maybe she likes pain. She's into it, you know? There's a duel between Dumbledore and Voldemort in this movie, and it's awesome. Throughout this movie, Snape was teaching Harry how to battle people who are trying to infiltrate his mind. And later in the movie, Voldemort tries to infiltrate his mind. And during this part, there's a flash clip of Voldemort with his tongue out going, "Teh!" It's so funny. This is just one of those moments that I never recall when I think about the Harry Potter movies, but now I will always think about it. It will be in the front of my mind whenever I think about Harry Potter. This random small clip they inserted during this scene, that really does nothing for the scene. It just makes it hilarious. Oh my God, play it 3 times, please. It's so funny and out of nowhere. Like, they couldn't have found better footage of Voldemort to use here? Make him do this weird thing with his tongue and what? Why? It's interesting, at least. At the end of this movie, Cornelius Fudge finds Voldemort. He stares directly at him and he's like, oh my God, he's back. It's pretty funny. Although, how would he know what Voldemort looks like, right? Like, this is Voldemort's reincarnated version. I'm pretty sure before he had a nose and everything, right? Why would Cornelius Fudge just randomly come to the conclusion that this weird snake man is Voldemort? What? Overall, pretty good movie. I liked it. I feel like I'm just repeating myself over and over, but yeah, there's a lot of iconic moments in this movie. But I gotta say, the inclusion of Umbridge really took the cake as far as villainy in these movies. While Voldemort is obviously evil, Dolores Umbridge is the most hateable character on Earth, basically. And now we're talking about The Half-Blood Prince, another David Yates movie. This one starts by showing us how the Dark Lord's growing presence and army is having an impact on the world at large, which includes the Muggles world. Harry and Dumbledore visit Professor Slughorn. He's trying to conceal himself as an armchair, but I guess he forgot that his shoes were hanging out. You might want to hide those. I like how the armchair is the only piece of furniture or just thing in the entire apartment that isn't destroyed. Makes it stand out like a sore thumb, but I know they did this on purpose, so the audience might notice it before Dumbledore does, but you know.
Merlin's beard!
I love the part when Dumbledore puts the apartment back together. It's such a cool scene. It's scenes like this throughout these movies that I adore. It's just so satisfying watching everything go back into place. It's one of those scenes that makes you want to watch the BTS footage because while some effects were probably used, it's just a really fascinating scene. And then Dumbledore takes a magazine because he likes knitting patterns.
I do love knitting patterns.
I love it so much. Then there's a scene when Hermione, Ron, and Harry are all hanging out at the Weasley house. And Harry says this.
If this is Hogwarts we're talking about, it's Dumbledore. What could be safer?
I don't know. Literally anywhere, given the events of the last 5 movies? What? That's a strange thing to say, Harry. The twins have a joke shop in this movie, and it's really awesome. I love seeing how they brought it to life. The creativity involved in just showing us around this shop is so cool to see. I should also mention that Harry was the one that gave the twins the money that they needed to start the shop. Because remember, Harry is rich. But when you think about this, it's kind of weird, right? Because remember when Ron had a broken wand and it was ruining everything in his life? And Harry never thought once about buying his best friend a new wand. When he's rich, like he inherited a bunch of money from his parents, he hardly ever touches the money. It's not like he loves wizard bling and he's walking around with like gold teeth or anything, or like a Harry Potter necklace with a bunch of diamonds on it. This kid doesn't use his money, but he still just lets his best friend and his best friend's family live in squalor. Yeah, he's kind of a strange kid. Maybe he just forgot he was rich, you know? Like, then there's the part on the train when Harry is spying on Malfoy. He uses his invisibility cloak, but Draco just knows he's there.
Just don't tell us!
How, though? He just does? Oh, okay. Pretty good intuition, I guess. And then Ron is scolded by Hermione for eating again. Like, in what world do Ron and Hermione end up together? Come on! These people are so toxic with one another, it's insane. And it just gets worse. They're not made for each other in any way, but for some reason, JK just wants to hammer it home, you know? These people are in love and they're meant to be together. Soulmates? What? In reality, Harry and Hermione would obviously end up together because they're just so much more compatible. And I don't know, for some reason, Harry doesn't find her attractive. Like what? How? Like, make Ron end up with someone like Luna or something. Maybe she's weird enough to put up with his bullshit. I don't know, like, come on, man. I'm mentioning this because Dumbledore even asks Harry about Hermione and their relationship with one another.
She's brilliant, and we're friends, but no.
You guys should see the uncut version, though. What's good, Dumbledore?
I notice you spend a great deal of time with Miss Granger.
Oh yeah, we fucking. They show us some flashbacks of Tom Riddle in this movie, and clearly he's a kid that desperately needs therapy. When Dumbledore visits him, he's just like, hey, what's up, dude? I'm a pretty powerful wizard, and I know you're a pretty powerful kid. We're pretty sick, right?
I'm different.
But don't use your powers to be a bad guy, okay? Promise? All right, now you keep studying about whatever you're studying about. We're not looking into that for some reason. There's a part when Slughorn meets up with Ron, Hermione, and Harry. I think they're at the Three Broomsticks or something, I don't remember. But Slughorn turns to Ron, and he calls him Wallenby. And it's amazing, I love it. Whoever thought about making Slughorn call Ron Wallenby? Amazing.
Good to see you, Wallenby.
And then later in the movie, he calls him Wenby.
What's the matter with Wenby?
I have this running theory that Draco was just starved of pussy. And if he were just to get laid one time, then he would have never killed Dumbledore. Like, goddamn. This is what no pussy does to a motherfucker. Why doesn't Draco hit up Susan Bones? I'm sure she's very damaged by what happened to her. And Draco seems like a fucked up guy, you know, his parents aren't the best.
Don't touch anything, Draco.
So maybe they could bond somehow. She could talk about death and he would be into that. And in this movie, Bellatrix sets Weasley's house on fire. This leads me to ask, why aren't the Weasleys using the spell Aquafina or something, you know? Waterly Loo. Yeah, I don't know, but use a spell to create water or something and put that fire out. Instead, they just watch it burn, because this sucks. I wish that we were wizards and we could make things appear out of thin air. Oh yeah! Later in this same movie, Harry summons water out of nowhere so Dumbledore can drink it. So don't go and tell me that this is not possible. I mean, look at Dumbledore doing this cool water spell in the last movie. Just drop one of those balls of water on your house. Do that over and over. You know? So Harry witnesses Slughorn's memory in the pensieve thing. But strangely, it isn't from Slughorn's point of view. How does that work? When I remember something, it's not like from a third person's perspective. It's from my perspective, because it's my memory. It's something that happened to me. So shouldn't Harry be seeing it through Slughorn's eyes? I don't know, it's just weird, right? So you know Lavender Brown, the super annoying girl that's in love with Ron? Well, the girl that plays her is named Jessie Cave, and she has a podcast, and my wife and I have been watching it for a while. It's weird seeing her in this movie again now that I know her on a more personal level from watching her podcast, because she's not at all like her character. And it's just strange, you know. The podcast is called We Can't Talk About That Right Now, if you're interested. Draco and Harry have a very epic fight in a bathroom. But then Harry pulls out this random spell. He has no idea what it does. He just read that it was for enemies in a book. And he's like, oh, cool. I'll use this on Draco.
I need healing.
Like, what the fuck are you doing, Harry? Like, what if it makes his head explode? Instead, it just makes him bleed like crazy. You know how in Elden Ring, how everybody's using the Rivers of Blood sword? Yeah, it's basically just that in spell form. It just makes all of his blood come out. So that was cool. Nice job, Harry. And I would be remiss if I didn't point out Malfoy's extremely pointy shoes. Look at those shoes. They're clearly too big for you, dude. Get Daddy to buy you some new shoes. And why are they so pointy? Do they have to be that pointy? What? So remember that part when Harry uses the luck potion and he ends up in Hagrid's hut with Hagrid and Slughorn. Hagrid and Slughorn start singing and Harry starts clapping like a psycho. Look at him, he's a lunatic. This potion thing doesn't just change your luck, it turns you into a weirdo. I gotta say, there are some very poignant and thought-provoking lessons in this movie. Like this.
You go along and then suddenly, poof.
Dude. True. So then they explain what a Horcrux is in this movie. Voldemort, being very evil, never wants anybody to find them. So he puts them in random objects, and he makes like 7 of them or something. Basically, he kills a person and that allows him to split his soul and put it into an object. So when people attempt to kill him, it does nothing because his soul is split into bits and you have to destroy his soul in order to kill him. So he desperately doesn't want people to find these Horcruxes. So he sets traps around his Horcruxes. He does a lot of stuff to make it so they're not easy to get your hands on. I have one simple question for Voldemort. Tell me this, Tom. Why didn't you put one of your souls into a grain of sand and just throw it onto a beach? You would be fine. Nobody's finding that shit. Or better yet, put it into many bits of sand and toss them out into the Atlantic. You're good, dude. Why not make the moon a Horcrux? You know? Nobody's destroying the moon, dude. There are many different ways he could have made it impossible for people to find these Horcruxes, but he just didn't. Maybe he just wanted to know where these Horcruxes were. So like 1,000 years from now, when he inevitably becomes incredibly suicidal from living for so long, he can destroy them himself and just die, you know? Maybe he had foresight, I don't know. The Dumbledore and Harry scene in the cave is really hard to watch because Michael Gambon's acting is a little too good. You really feel for him in this scene. He looks like he's being legitimately tortured. Yeah, this scene is just really well acted. There's some weird ass editing of Harry backing up on the Crystal Island in the cave. Dumbledore has a pretty awesome part in this scene. He spins flames around and kills all these goblins or whatever they are. Of course, they do all of this to gain access to a locket that's supposed to be one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. But oh my god, it's just a replica. Regulus Black has the real one. He somehow did this himself? How? What? You're telling me Dumbledore and Harry barely made it out of there, but Regulus Black, you know, he just did it somehow. Wow, that's impressive. So then Draco and the goon platoon show up to kill Dumbledore. Snape ends up killing him, obviously, and it's very sad knowing what we all know about Snape. Snape is the best character in this entire series. He's very nuanced, and his final act is so powerful. I think he's just a well-written character all around. Even though he's kind of a simp and pathetic and a loser, maybe that's why I like him so much. I don't know, I tend to like losers in movies. The next movie, Deathly Hallows Part 1. So yeah, they split the last book into 2 movies. They also did this with the Hunger Games movies. Yeah, it's just a way to prolong the series so they make the most money, I think. But I'm not complaining because I really like the last 2 movies. It also allows them to adapt more from the books than they would have otherwise been able to, because obviously they have more time. This movie was also directed by David Yates. The movie overall has a very dead and gray color grading. I'm guessing to reflect the dark nature of it. If you compare this movie's color palette to, I don't know, Sorcerer's Stone, they are very different. And they should be because they're very different movies. The tone has shifted dramatically since the first one. I mean, the movie starts with Hermione using a spell on her parents to erase the memory of her, which is a pretty radical and permanent change. Like, Jesus Christ. She erases herself from all of the pictures around the home. So one of them is just a bed. So her parents are gonna walk around and be like, why did we decide to frame a bed again, honey? Like, just a bed? Did we really like it or something? Why? And what about the other people in her family? Cousins, aunts, uncles, her dentist, her doctor, grandparents, family, friends, neighbors? What? She would have to go to so many different people. It'd be almost impossible for her to erase herself entirely. Her neighbors being outside and asking her parents how Hermione is would ruin everything, because obviously they'd be like, well, who's Hermione? And they would respond, your daughter. And they'd be like, we don't have a daughter. And then they'd be like, what? I'm pretty sure you have a daughter. Maybe we should call the police on these people because they sold their child into sex slavery or something? What's going on? Voldemort has a problem in this movie. His wand is not able to kill Harry because it's linked with Harry's wand, and he believes that if he uses someone else's wand that he'll be able to kill Harry Potter. So he takes Lucius Malfoy's wand, a very pretentious wand that he keeps hidden in his cane. He breaks the snake head off of it and it's hilarious. Voldemort doesn't want any cringe on his wand. Take the cringe off of my wand. I am the Dark Lord. I will not use a wand with cringe on it. So he removes the cringe. This scene is really dark and disturbing because they have a Muggle studies teacher just like floating above the table as they have their meeting. I guess they were in the middle of torturing her for fun. It's pretty gross. She's being mocked. And then Voldemort has his snake just eat her in front of everybody. Oh my God. And Snape is sitting there watching and she calls out to him for help. This scene is just so fucked up, right? Snape obviously can't help her because he needs to convince Voldemort that he's on his side. It's just such a fucked scene. Oh my God. I swear to God, Harry Potter's eyebrows get thicker with every single movie. Look at how goddamn thick this kid's eyebrows are. Does he put product in his eyebrows? How do they get so thick? I'm impressed. In this movie, a bunch of people take Polyjuice Potion in order to transform into Harry, so they can confuse the Death Eaters that are on their tail, so they can safely bring Harry from one area to another without him being killed. And when they're in mid-transformation, it is so funny, dude. Look at Hermione who's in mid-transformation. It's so good. It's a hilarious scene.
Bill, look away. I'm hideous.
It's kind of funny thinking about how long and hilarious this scene must have been to film, because obviously Daniel Radcliffe would have to had acted out every single one of these people and pretended he was all of these people. All right, Harry, now move over a foot and pretend like you're Ron. Okay, Harry, move over a foot and pretend like you're Hermione. Okay, Harry, move over a foot again and pretend like you're Fleur Delacour. So they all fly away on their brooms. And I couldn't help but notice the hilarious lounge chair that Mad-Eye Moody uses as a broom. Oh my God, if I had a broom, it would be this. Yes, I would love to sit back and relax on my broom and just chill. Nobody looks as comfortable as Mad-Eye Moody does while they fly. I'm surprised every witch and wizard don't use a broom like Mad-Eye's because it must be so much more comfortable. I would not want a little stick in between my legs. Okay, that sounds weird. And then Hagrid's bike has like NOS, I guess. He presses a button and flames blast out the back and he goes flying. It's so good. So a Death Eater is following all of these Harrys, and they're able to distinguish the real Harry from the rest. And they're only able to do this because Hedwig comes out of nowhere and tries to protect him. God damn it, Hedwig. And then the owl dies. Like, he just gets hit by a random spell. So that was a very accurate shot, dude. If you gave me a wand and told me to hit an owl that's flying while I'm flying on a broom, no, it's not happening, dude. I'm just not, no. But I guess this guy's extra accurate today. Also, kind of a huge oversight by Harry to not cage his owl. Like, what? Was this owl just flying around randomly? Why? And how do these Death Eaters know that this owl is Harry's? Like, what? It could have just been a random owl. They know about Hedwig? How? So the Death Eater calls Voldemort in and Voldemort's like, hey, fuck you, Harry. And he tries to kill Harry, but Harry's wand just magically just shoots back at Voldemort. A lot of the times Harry is saved just because the world wants to save him and the magic is on his side. It's just luck. Yeah. During this scene, Mad-Eye Moody is murdered and Harry feels responsible. So what does he do? He tries to abandon them in the middle of the night. Wow, Harry. Yeah, he's trying to save them because they're all putting their life on the line for him. He feels guilty, I get it, but yeah. And then Ron comes out of nowhere and he's like, dude, we're not just doing this for you, you know? So yeah, Dumbledore had some items gifted to the kids. And Harry is gifted a snitch. And it says, I open at the close. And I guess he's supposed to understand what that means. I wouldn't blame him if he never understood what that meant. They know that there's something inside, but it won't open for some reason. And he doesn't realize that he caught the snitch in his mouth and it will open only when he touches it to his mouth. But what if he never learned that? Like, what if he never realized? Well, I guess he's just fucked then, right? And then they have a wedding. Why is there a wedding? Why? The Dark Lord is taking over the world. All of your lives are at risk. I know that they want a little bit of a distraction from everything that's going on. It seems like a good idea because, hey, people can use it right now. Things are very bleak. Then have a small wedding. Maybe you invite 5 people, like your closest friends. Not the entire wizarding world. This wedding is massive. What the fuck are they doing? Any of these random people that they invite could secretly be a Death Eater. It's insane that they're doing this. And of course, guess what happens? Yeah, the wedding obviously gets attacked by a bunch of Death Eaters, and it's a very chaotic scene, and I'm just sitting there thinking the entire time, why did you guys have a wedding? Why? At this wedding, Harry is talking to an old lady, and they're talking about Dumbledore, and she reveals some things about Dumbledore that Harry never knew. And then she says this.
Are you sure you knew him at all?
Why do British people hate the letter T so much? Are you sure you knew him at all? They either interject it where it doesn't need to be, like at all, where'd the extra T come from? Or they just abandon the letter altogether and don't pronounce it at all, with words like little or British. What did the letter T do to you guys? The next time a British person is mean to you, just T-pose on them. They'll never understand why you're doing it, but you know why you're doing it. Harry, Ron, and Hermione spend a good like 20 minutes of this movie as random middle-aged people that work at the Ministry, so they can infiltrate the Ministry for a Horcrux locket that Professor Umbridge is wearing around her neck. I guess they were able to rescue her from the Centaurs. My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. So Ron takes on the role of this random guy that works at the Ministry, and he really takes it on, like he believes that he's this guy after like 15 minutes.
Morning. Ron, it's me.
Basically, this guy's wife that Ron is pretending to be is being interrogated, and he has to save his wife that isn't actually his wife, it's just this random guy's wife, but Ron just decides to roleplay, and it's amazing.
It's Harry Potter.
It is, isn't it? This will be fun to tell the kids.
I know it's kind of tired and dumb to compare every evil thing to Nazi Germany, but the Ministry basically just turned into Nazi Germany. Wizards are interrogating other wizards, trying to weed out any muggles in their family tree, and also trying to identify those that aren't full wizard. They even have a statue in the middle of the Ministry of muggles being crushed. Yeah, it's kind of in your face. The propaganda isn't very effective. It's just like, yeah, we hate muggles. Like, this statue does nothing to convince wizards that muggles are inferior. It just shows a bunch of helpless people being crushed. I'm also not entirely sure if these aren't actual muggles that they just turned into stone. That very well could be the case. And if it is, that's even more disturbing. But if I were a wizard and I saw this statue, I wouldn't be like, wow, muggles are so shitty. I'm so happy I'm a wizard. I'm so happy I'm not a muggle. Instead, I'd be like, oh, wow. A little extreme, guys. There's a part when Harry uses Stupefy on Professor Umbridge, and it's amazing. Stupefy! Gotcha, bitch! So the kids are able to escape the Ministry, but when they transform back, their clothes miraculously fit them, when the adults that they were pretending to be were much, much, much larger. Like, their clothes should be hanging off of them. They should be swallowed by their clothes, basically. So you know how in Lord of the Rings, when Frodo is wearing the ring, it affects him and it turns him into an evil person? Well, JK basically just stole that idea, I guess. So when Ron or Harry are wearing this locket that's a Horcrux, it starts to affect them, it turns them into an asshole. Some parts of this series are creatively bankrupt, but I feel like overall, the creativity is pretty good, so I'm able to overlook some of these things. So Harry, Ron, and Hermione are traveling along, and Ron ends up wearing the necklace because it's his turn, I guess, and it turns him into a massive asshole. Why don't they try putting the locket into a bag or something? Like, just stick it in a bag. You don't have to wear this thing. Maybe they're afraid it'll, like, jump out of the bag and hop away or something. Wearing this thing obviously has awful repercussions. Just don't wear it. So Ron is lashing out at Harry in one scene, and Harry just kind of eggs him on and makes it much worse. He just escalates the situation instead of focusing on the necklace. That's obviously the problem here. No, Harry just gets butthurt and he just starts yelling back at Ron.
You think I'm not listening too? You think I don't know how this feels?
Oh, you don't know how it feels!
Hermione is the only person that decides to point out the necklace, you know, and she's like, take it off, and Ron's like, no, I like it, I'm keeping it on. So Ron leaves them for a little bit in the movie. Then we get that super cute dance scene between Hermione and Harry. Obviously, these two should have ended up together. It makes no sense that they wouldn't end up together. All of the signs point towards these two people being more compatible and just being better for each other. Overall, and I will be screaming that to my grave, I don't understand the Ron-Hermione thing at all. So Harry finally realizes that he has to put the snitch near his mouth for it to open. But if you remember how he actually caught the snitch, it like was lodged in his throat, right? He like coughed it up. So I think you would have to like deep throat it, right? Just shove it way back in there and then it will open. And then semen shoots out. But yeah, it totally would have made me think I had to put the entire thing in my mouth and close my lips around it, because the message I open at the close, it doesn't make me think it will open near the end of my life. It would make me think it will open when I close my mouth around it, because closing mouth makes more sense than the closing of like a chapter in your life or something. It's worded very strange. So yeah, later in the movie, when Harry and Hermione go to Godric's Hollow, they don't use Polyjuice Potion to disguise themselves when they obviously should. They don't do it because of the principle. They don't want to be somebody else when they visit Harry's old house or whatever. They don't want to be someone else when visiting this very touching and history-heavy area. Like, what the hell does that mean? Come on, dude. Think about what's going on in the world right now. Keep yourself safe. Drink some Polyjuice Potion. Quit being an idiot. Jesus. Obviously, they don't do this because they don't want Harry and Hermione to be different people the entire movie, because that would be weird. So they find Bathilda Bagshot here, and this is the creepiest looking old woman I have ever seen in my entire life. This scene scared the shit out of me when I saw it, and I also read the book before watching the movie, so I knew it was coming, and it still scared the shit out of me. This woman is straight out of Resident Evil 7. I'm not joking. She's very scary looking. What the fuck? And she must smell like complete ass, because she's been dead for a while. The snake killed her, and it's just wearing her skin. It's dead skin, and Harry and Hermione don't really care about her smell all that much. It's weird. Maybe the magic snake put perfume on her. But yeah, she must smell like balls. Maybe Harry and Hermione just thought she was a deranged old woman that never bathed. Eventually they get attacked and they escape. During this escape, Harry breaks his wand and it's like this big deal. He's like, oh shit, I don't have a wand anymore. It's revealed later that Snape planted the Gryffindor sword at the bottom of a lake, a frozen lake. And he put it here because he knew that Harry would need it at some point. And he uses his Patronus to lead Harry there. He's using someone else's wand, I don't know whose. But he melts a small portion of the lake so he can jump in, which is a very strange idea. Why wouldn't he melt a very large portion of the lake? You know how hard it is to swim back up into the hole that you made? Like, what? He should melt a massive area of the lake, so he doesn't have an issue swimming back up, but he doesn't. He's such a moron. And to think that he only gets dumber. He removes all of his clothes to jump into the lake and grab the sword. But he doesn't remove the locket. He keeps the evil locket around his neck as he jumps into a lake where he could drown. He doesn't think at all that maybe the locket won't behave itself. Wow. I think you might have wanted to walk back and give the locket to Hermione and then try and retrieve the sword. And like, what if he dropped the locket in the lake? Like, what an idiot. So yeah, when he swims down, the locket tries to drown him. Oh my God. So he can't swim up and it's a big deal. Ron has to save his dumbass. Like, imagine if Ron didn't make it back in time. And remember that spell that Harry used during the Goblet of Fire that like rocketed his ass out of the water? Remember, he just like torpedoed right out of the water. Why didn't he just do that? You're dying, dude. Use that torpedo spell and blast your ass out of this lake. So yeah, they're about to destroy the locket with the sword, but the locket tries to defend itself with magic, and it tries to enrage Ron by showing him like a vision of Harry making out with Hermione. And he's like, oh my God, this is so shitty. I can't believe this is happening. Why would the locket try to enrage Ron? He's going to try to attack the locket if it shows him something that he hates, right? Like, what? What did the locket expect him to do? Throw the sword down and leave? Like, logically, he knows the locket is doing this. So it's just very strange. So they visit Luna's dad, and he tells them about the tale of the three brothers. And there's some really awesome animation to accompany this. Then there's a chase scene through some woods, which has some incredible cinematography. It clearly depicts the kids' desperation to escape. Before they start running from the Death Eaters, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are standing there, and they can clearly see their faces. But before they catch Harry, Hermione uses a bee sting spell on his face to like deform his face a little bit so they can't recognize him. But they saw him earlier. They saw his face clear as day earlier. And he's wearing the same clothing. And it doesn't even matter because they find his scar anyway. I guess it was like a last-ditch effort. The fact that these people were fooled at all is so stupid. Everybody should know that Harry, Hermione, and Ron always travel together. If they find Hermione and Ron, they will find Harry. They're attached by the hip. I'm sure Voldemort knows this at least, you know? But I guess his Death Eater dumbass friends don't know this. Emma Watson's acting when Bellatrix Lestrange is interrogating her is very good. It's convincing and it's creepy, and no, I don't like it.
I didn't take anything.
Dobby is on his king shit in this movie. Remember when he was a complete douche earlier in the series? Well, he does a complete 180. He saves everybody at the end, basically. But that's not before Bellatrix throws a knife at them and it kills Dobby, and it's a really sad moment, and then the movie ends, and it's like, wow, thanks for ruining my day. I like when they end up on the beach and Dobby is clearly dying. He has a knife in him, so maybe you should rush to help him. Do something, you know, use a spell. You are wizards, right? So use a spell to save him. There's no sense of urgency though. They just let him die. It's so weird. Why aren't they using something to save him? What? Hermione knows every spell known to man. I'm pretty sure she would know something that would heal a wound, right? What's the point of magic if you can't heal wounds with it? That seems like one of the main things you would want it for. Uh-oh, Voldemort has the Elder Wand. And then it ends. Oh God, what are we gonna do? Last movie, The Deathly Hallows Part 2. David Yates is the director again. This is the darkest movie in tone by a long shot. Basically in this movie, they're hunting down Horcruxes, and they know that Bellatrix Lestrange has one in her vault at Gringotts. Hermione, very conveniently, has one of Bellatrix's hairs. So then there's a scene of Hermione acting as if she's Bellatrix so they can infiltrate the bank. And it's really funny. Helena Bonham Carter's acting during this part is awesome.
I wish to enter my vault.
She has to act as Bellatrix, as Hermione acting as Bellatrix. They're able to successfully infiltrate the bank with the help of a goblin. They're on this minecart thing, and it stops mid-track because an alarm was set off that these people are infiltrating the bank, and a door opens, and they fall out. Guess where they land? Next to the dragon guarding Bellatrix's vault. So, I mean, that was very convenient. The dragon is restrained by some chains, but based on this scene of them escaping with the dragon, I don't think these chains would do much to restrain it. But whatever. They have these little devices that they shake, so the dragon thinks it's about to get hurt, and it's scared. In this movie, we meet Dumbledore's brother, Aberforth. He never got over the death of his sister. He's much different than Dumbledore in a lot of ways, and I think it was pretty cool how they fleshed out Dumbledore's family in this movie. So Snape is the new headmaster of Hogwarts, and then there's a scene of McGonagall fighting him, and it is awesome! You slay. Slay queen. Is that what people say now? You slay queen. Voldemort gives everybody an ultimatum because he has this ability to talk to everybody at once somehow. He uses magic to just talk to everybody. He just can do that. Which is hilarious, right? Because he should use this exact magic when they infiltrate Hogwarts with their armies to just scream into everybody's ears. Just nonstop. Just scream like a banshee in everybody's ears so they are incredibly distracted and can't fight back. That's what I would do. Voldemort doesn't decide to use this cool ability at all, aside from just making announcements, like he's the principal of the school. And he tends to like whisper the announcements too.
Give me Harry Potter.
He doesn't want to be too loud. He doesn't want to hurt these kids' ears.
Bring Harry Potter.
So yeah, he gives everybody an ultimatum. They have to hand over Harry Potter or there'll be a war and everybody will die. So McGonagall puts all the Slytherin kids in the dungeon. I love that part, it's so good. I would do the same thing. Why didn't Hogwarts reach out to any other schools for assistance? You know, if they're under attack by Death Eaters and Voldemort, this is a good time to reach out to these other schools around the world, but they don't for some reason. I know they don't have much time to do so, but still. Wizards are weird and they only like to talk to each other by sending them letters with an owl. So the kids have to acquire a basilisk fang because they know that they can use it to destroy a Horcrux. But Harry's not with them. So Ron just uses Parseltongue to enter the Chamber of Secrets because he remembered how to do so? Like, what?
Harry talks in his sleep. Have you noticed?
In what world does Ron just randomly know Parseltongue? It's so stupid. Also, it's really silly that Voldemort decided to keep all the Horcruxes in the same area of the world. Come on, dude. Send one to China. Send one to Hawaii. Send one to Antarctica. Like, what are you doing, dude? He's so bad at keeping these things from being destroyed. Later in the movie, we get the Ron and Hermione kiss, something that Emma Watson remarks as the worst thing that she's ever done. Wow. And she says this in front of Rupert Grint.
Was the most horrifying thing either of us.
F's in the chat for our boy Rupert. Holy shit. I've never seen someone friend zone so hard in my life. And he has to clarify that he loves her as a friend in the reunion. It's so painful.
I love you. As a friend.
One of Draco's moronic friends decides to use a spell that he can't control, and it ends up devouring this entire room that Harry and all these kids are in. And Harry ends up saving Draco's life. Draco never thanks Harry for this. It's so weird. Like, come on, dude. Clearly your friends are douchebags. Draco is such a weird character in this series. Remember Lavender Brown? Well, yeah, she got eaten by the wolf guy. But they don't show us Ron's reaction to this. Ron had the most involvement with Lavender Brown in the series. You'd think it'd be important to show us his reaction to her death, but they don't. I know he thought that she was annoying, but come on, like, this is pretty fucked up. The battle for Hogwarts is awesome. I loved it. I thought it was pretty cool how they made that bubble shield around the school, and McGonagall uses a spell that she's always wanted to use. She basically activates the stone statues of soldiers around the school so they can defend the school.
I've always wanted to use that spell.
Aberforth shows up to defend the school, and it's pretty epic. Snape's death is so brutal. It hurts every time I watch it.
Nagini. Kill.
I know Voldemort is kind of an asshole, but as far as he knows, Snape was very loyal to him for a long time. And since Snape was the one that killed Dumbledore, Voldemort believes that Snape is the one that controls the Elder Wand. So he has to kill Snape in order to control the Elder Wand. But he doesn't just use the death curse on him. Like, that would just be too easy. Instead, he sicks his snake on him so he can die slowly. It's fucked up, like, damn, this guy was loyal to you, Jesus. A quick Avada Kedavra would have been really nice, dude. But of course, we need Snape alive so Harry can talk to him and get the tear from him that he can use in the pensieve later. And we get that really cool scene of, you know, us finding out who Snape really is. And the plan all along was for Snape to protect Harry and whatever. I know this movie has its flaws, but I think the reason I like it more than the rest is because of the emotional weight and impact that it has. When it's finally revealed what Snape was doing this entire time, it hits hard, you know? Like, it's a big moment. And there's some really cool action scenes in this movie. I love that McGonagall gets to shine in this movie. I love the part when Mrs. Weasley gets to defend her family against Bellatrix and she defeats Bellatrix.
Not my daughter, you bitch!
I guess this movie is my favorite because it's so satisfying. Seeing everything wrap up is really cool. And the fight between Harry and Voldemort is pretty awesome. When Harry watches Snape's memory through the pensieve is such a powerful moment. But the real reason this is my favorite movie is because of the awkward hug that Voldemort gives Draco. Oh God, it's so good.
Well done.
There's the part when Neville kills the snake. God, there's just so many iconic moments in this movie. I know there's a bunch in all the rest, but this movie was just the most satisfying. With all the other movies leading up to this one, all the close-up shots on the characters worked well to intensify the scenes. Harry and Voldemort's tumble off of the castle had some kind of questionable CGI. Harry kind of like morphs into him, and you get to see Harry without a nose for a second. It's weird, but I get what they're going for, and I like the idea. So Harry was the real master of the Elder Wand, and he's able to defeat Voldemort because he was the one that disarmed Draco, and Draco was the actual master of the Elder Wand because he was the one that disarmed Dumbledore. It's kind of a clever twist. So Harry ends up killing Voldemort. Then 19 years pass. I think they did a relatively good job aging up the characters, but Ginny and Emma still look like they're teenagers, so it's just kind of weird. Overall, I really liked how they ended the series, although I think it's kind of strange that Harry would decide to become an Auror, which is basically like a cop in the wizard world. He wants to uphold the status quo, because it's so great. The Ministry has treated you so well over the years, and there's definitely not a problem with slaves in this world. There are literal slaves, and Harry decides to be a cop? Like, what? Oh my God. It's just weird, right? It's just weird. I think it would have been better if he decided to be a politician or something. Like, try and change things in the world for the better, because you know how awful they are. But whatever, I'm not talking about that. Overall, I really liked the movies. I think they were very well made, very entertaining. I think they wrapped up things very nicely. The acting, the casting, the sets, everything was so well done. Bravo. Bravo to the people who made these movies. Incredible work. So yeah, guys, I guess that's it. That's my review of the Harry Potter movies. Let me know what you thought of them in the comment section down below. Let me know what you'd like to see me review in the future. Thank you so much to all my patrons. You guys make videos like this possible.
There's my name right there.
And for those of you that love cool clothing, I have a clothing brand named Alien, spelled A-Y-Y-L-I-E-N. Go to alienclothing.com because we have some really awesome stuff over there, and I think you might like them. Time to use the time turner so I can get all this time back so I can play Elden Ring for another 20,000 hours. Whee! See ya! Woo!
Dumbledore. Snape. Severus Snape. Dumbledore. Snape. Severus Snape. Dumbledore. Hermione. Severus Snape. Dumbledore. Hermione. Severus Snape. Dumbledore. Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Severus Snape. Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Severus Snape. Harry Potter. That's me.